Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews. Ticket to Ride Europe this time. Yes, one of the biggest sellers, I believe, plus 8 million copies, and this is the first hobby board game that I ever played. Hobby is defined by being an actually good game. Monopoly, for example, is the biggest example of mass market games which are made very cheaply and not very good. And this is a hobby board game because it's made to be good, not to be sold worldwide. And this is one of those that actually managed to sell worldwide. Quick explanation of that if you didn't know. Ticket to Ride Europe here. As I say, one of the first games that I owned, one of the first games that I played that were hobby board games, and really this is the game that I associate with my interest into board games. But let's quickly open up and set it up and see how it's played. I'm a little out of it to say I can feel it, but let's get to the setup and then the gameplay. So you start off by taking the main board and place it in the center of the table. It's a big one, so be careful. Huge changes. Then you'll grab whatever trains in whatever color you want. To give them out, there should be 3 stations, not 4. That's what I said, 4. 3 stations, and in this one there's 48 cards, but I believe they say you use 45. But there are 3 extra trains in the box, and therefore we have 3 extra trains. And because I'm not gonna not use extra trains, that's just ridiculous. So there are probably 48 in those. These ones are not used. Then you can grab out huge stack here. I do have the 1912, as you can see there, cards in here. Well, they're all here on top, so I could probably just grab all these and move them to the side. Scoring table. 1912, 1912. Can't remove all the 1912 cards. I don't know if I can. Oh wow, that's all the 1912 cards just at the top here. Maybe I can remove them. What the hell's going on? I didn't think they would just be like this on the top. That's weird. I wonder if my mom and my girlfriend last time they played fixed that up because they didn't want to use the expansion ones, which are basically just more tickets. As you can see, there's an insane amount of tickets for the 1912 expansion, but am I ever going to get to the bottom of this one? What the hell, man? This is like all of the tickets. This is why you get the expansion, because then you don't know which tickets are. Oh my god! I actually reached the end of it. Started 1912. Now I didn't remove any of the regular ones, right? Man, this is all 1912. Alright, here we should have regular tickets. So yeah. Okay, let me just, because there are large routes and there are small routes. Let me just try and figure out whether I have all of them in here or what the hell is going on. As I say, my girlfriend and my mom has used this the last, and I should have checked, but this does not seem like that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see there are the blue background that are large roots, and you have the regular background, brown background that are small roots. Shuffle them all up. There's 3 small roots to each player, and 2 large roots to each player. Then usually we kind of put the large roots to the side because they're not usable anymore. And also, if you're in a 5-player game, each person just gets 1 because there isn't enough. There's only like 6 of them. So the other tickets I just put over here to the side. I don't have enough room. My table is a mess. And you grab all of the train cards denoted by this background. And these are all pure, so pure. Shuffle them up a little bit. That was a terrible shuffle, I know, but whatever. Place pile and then 5 face-up cards here. 3, 4, 5. Ignore the bend of my card there. That was annoying. I do have some sleeves on my wish list that I'm getting hold of. Anyways, of these ones you have to choose 3 to keep. 2 small ones, 1 large one. You kind of, I don't know how important it is for this one, but I would always put them up like this, right? That's usually what I do. And then try and like link them up based on names and based on what I know, right? So that's Italy, Russia, Cadiz, Spain, Sweden, France, Germany, Spain, Germany, Spain, not Germany, Austria, but like you see that we have 3 Spanish cities. That's already my choice right there. But what I also have is 2 German. Aren't they good enough to like link up? The only problem is of course Marseille, but then you would like look over and of course it would be difficult, but as you see, like Barcelona is only 4 from Marseille, so you could start with Marseille and just take the round around or something. So I'd probably keep these 4 cards because they're actually pretty decent and kind of link up. Then you have just Palermo and Moscow, that's the English name for it, sorry. This is of course in Danish. But yeah, then that one would be not usable for me, so I'd throw that one because it's a large rook back in the box, but otherwise we just put it at the bottom of the pile. And then that would be my selection for the game, what I would have to try and complete in here. And my opponent had of course done the same. We'll just act as if he had. And now it's on to the gameplay itself. You can do 3 things in your turn. You can draw up 2 cards, or you can put down some trains, or you can draw up 4 new routes. Let's just do the order in the order. Draw up 2 cards in here. So if, of course, again, you know, looking at these ones, where do I have to go? So definitely, you know, I have to touch Zurich, I have to touch Marseille, touch Barcelona. There's some 2 routes ones. I could do that right away. Zurich mentioned a whole bunch of here, but there's a bunch of these black ones. So actually, let's try and I should have set this up like I just drew up. No, you know what? Let's just draw up 2 green ones just for the example here. And son of a cow. These are actually pretty bad cards, but anyways, next round. Let's just try and see if I can't get something more favorable by removing these ones. And nope, not at all. Well, this is obviously not a setup. But anyways, I could use those, 2 of those. You know, Essen, I have to touch Essen. So that's nice. Those 2, it's the next round now. You can't do this in the same round, I just, you know. But the next round, place those 2 there. And that's my round over. And then my opponent draws up these 2. Because then I'm gonna get something useful. Yes. Then I draw these 2. Because I'm gonna use those next round. My opponent just draws this one. Because then the round is over really quick. Okay. An example of these ones right here. Bang, you have 2 pink. I want to place in there. Oh. That black one around shows that it is a tunnel. Which means your opponent is gonna grab the deck. He's gonna draw up 3 cards. For every purple card, you will have to pay another purple card. Now locomotives, every single time we're like, oh my god, does the locomotives count? Hold on, does the locomotives count? Luckily this one is actually a really good one. Every single time I have to read the rules. Locomotives doesn't count unless you've used locomotives. If you've used a locomotive, it would count and you'll have to pay another locomotive specifically. But if it's just purple like in this one, they have to be purple, you have to pay another purple. In this one, it paid off. And I placed this one. Now this one was of course a risk because I only had 2 purple cards. You just, when you've used the cards, you just discard them in a pile over here. Bam, use cards. But if it was a risk because I only had 2, because you could draw up 3 purple, I'd have to pay 3 purple more. Yeah. Anyways, next round. I decide this round I want to drop 4 new tickets. 4. Maybe I wouldn't do that in this specific situation, but just here I want to do it. Anyways. So draw up new tickets here, and then I, look at them. I only have to keep 1 of these. Then look at them. And the problem is, I have a little bit of trouble remembering where some of these are. Gora, Kharkov, so that's that kind of one. Warszawa, Smolensk, so that's Russia, Poland. This one is also in Russia. Smolensk, Rostov, that's a fully Rust, and then Madrid, Dieppe, so that's another Spain, France one. So with the cards I we're going to have, this one would be a guarantee, but these ones kind of fit together. So do I want to risk it and grab like an entire second route all the way up here? Sorry, it's flipped upside down. Or do I want to keep down here? I would fully have the choice here. And let's say I choose to just discard these other three. They will go in the bottom of the pile. And it's my opponent's turn now. There is, of course, this one's at the back end, bottom of the bag. I've committed. There's, of course, the stations. And what do the stations do? Well, the stations do that if, for example, I place them here, and I had a card going from here, and boom, let's just say that. That would mean Pamplona and Zurich is now connected. Now, I don't know if I can't remember if that's the route, but that's just an example. Pamplona to Zurich is now connected, but they don't count towards the end game bonus, which is having the longest route, giving you extra 10 points. These wouldn't count, but if I had connected it here, then I would have 2, 4, 6, 8. You would only have 4, so I'd have the longest. Now that's not very realistic. It's going to end there, but just an example. And of course you have the scoring table, the most important thing. This is basically, if you put down 1 train, you get 1 point. If you put down 2 trains, you get 2 points. 3 trains, 4 points. 4 trains, 7 points. 6 trains, 15 points. And 8 trains, 21 points. It reminds me, you of course start the game off by grabbing your point markers and placing them at the 100, which is 0 at the start of the game. But in this example, I have placed down 2 times 2, so that's 4 points for the green one. And this one has been 4, so that's 7 points for the red one, this example. Now, any unused station is worth 4 points at the end of the game. So, this is like removing 4 points from your total score. But it can have its ups and downs to it. That's what you do in the game. The little alterations to the rules, and that's it. I'll of course talk about the 1912 expansion in a later video alongside the 1910 expansion. That's what I'm going to do. But this is the Ticket to Ride Europe how to play. So let's get back to the table. Let me just clear this up here. Hopefully that's gonna be really good on if I edit it properly with the sound. But we'll see. But anyways, that's Ticket to Ride. And yes, it is not set up right now because I'm filming this one, then I'm filming the setup. It's a thing. It's just a quick way of filming because I gotta get real quick film 2 episodes before I lose all my energy again. But that was the setup, and now let's talk about it. Let's start off by talking about, of course, we always talk about the gameplay of it. And the gameplay of Ticket to Ride Europe is, of course, basically the same as it will be in any Ticket to Ride out there. Which is why some people, probably just own one of them and not all of them, because they basically play the same. But there are some differences. But let's talk about all of it. First of all, there are 3 main things, things that are the same. You can draw the cards, you can play a route, or you can get a new route. And I think those 3 simple, really brilliant, mixes in a perfect way luck and choice. Right. The cards, you can draw 2 cards. You have a choice of 5 laying out, or you have the pile. Do you want a luck, or are you lucky enough that you can choose any of the 5, or do you have to push your luck and draw 2? And of course the choice of I can get this 1 card, the locomotive, or I can get 2 cards, which is better. Sometimes it's better with the locomotive, but sometimes it is better with 2 cards. It is. A lot of people I've heard say you should always choose the locomotive. I disagree with that. You shouldn't always choose the locomotive. Sometimes it is better to choose 2 cards, I have to say. But that's up to the individual person. But as I say, mixing luck and choice, you have the 5 out, you can push your luck. I think that's really brilliant, because it's like, I can use those, but only a little bit, maybe I want some different ones. It's brilliant, it gives you the choice. You have playing the cards, which is it's not about luck. I'm sure this one adds luck to that with the tunnels, where it's like, I'm betting on this one. Come on, draw 3. You know, are you lucky enough? Sometimes we risk it and we just go, I need to play 3 here. I only have 3. I cannot afford it drawing 1. Please. Other time. But on the novel routes, of course, you just say, that's 2 reds, bam. And I think that's a brilliant way of doing it, is like slowly building your route, and depending on, like, some people might want to, you know, I've got to go from A to B and I just start from A and just build. Sometimes you have, you know, a C and a D location, and you like, I put some here, put some here, put some here, put some here, and slowly they merge together. Now some people say, like, if you've played enough, you know the routes, so like if you start from here and you go this way, you know you're gonna end up here. And I say, holy shit, you've played it a lot. Like, there's 1 or 2 routes I can remember, because they show up frequently. But like, no way you can remember the routes. Like, seriously, no way. What else does add to the gameplay? That's the stations, which I think is an interesting one. One where I will mention, the first time I played it, I was told if you have any left that is minus 4 points. It is not, it is plus 4 points. And I think the minus 4 points is interesting, because it kind of forces you to use them. You want to use them. Where do I want to use them? Do I want to waste them? Or just, that's interesting. But it's definitely also interesting with plus 4. Like, you don't want to use them. I want to build my route. Did he get in the way? Can I build around? It gives you a bigger choice and not just an immediate out. After some people talk about the stations make it too easy. I don't think it does. Because if you have used 0 stations, you're in a better position than your opponent has used 1. Because you get 4 more points just from that. And games of this can be close. Now, one game I've had was not close. I was 100 points behind 4th. So, but they can be really close. I have games that have been determined by 3 points or less, like 2. So, those 4 points can be make the difference. So the choice is difficult. And I think you underestimate it if you think that that ruins it. Because that definitely, like, do I use it or do I not? I think it's a brilliant little, can I build around? Do I have enough trains? It's a brilliant little choice. And then of course you have the final bit, which is the routes. Just draw up new routes. You start off with 2 large ones and 3 small ones. You have to keep 3. And usually you would choose 1 large, 2 small ones. Usually, that's what mostly happens. Actually, I think that's in the rules. When I say mostly happens, I'm pretty sure that's actually the rule. Silly me. And then when you got a new one, you get 4 routes, and you have to choose 1. And I think that's absolutely brilliant, because it gives you the opportunity of getting rid of a whole lot of crap. Or keep something really good. The start one, of course, not so much, you only remove like 2. So that's, okay, maybe this one still has bad cards. But the other one, you get 4. You only have to keep 25% of it. A quarter of it is all you have to keep. So you could get lucky and be like, there's 2 good cards. I'll keep those 2, get the red other ones. Or if you got unlucky, there's 4 terrible cards. These don't fit in with my routes at all. Maybe 2 of them fit together and you choose, that's a different route. But that's a risk again, because largest route, largest trains connected. Another point against the station being too easy. Because that's plus 10 points if you have the longest route. Again, 10 points. So if you had the longest route and you haven't used any of your ones, then all of a sudden you have 14 points on your opponent that may have used 1. 14 points. And you say that the stations make it too easy? Nah, 14 point difference could happen. Has happened. I should say my games. There has been a 14 point difference because of that. So do not come after me with that thing with, oh, it makes it too easy. Does not. It adds choice and you have to think about it before you just use it. If you just use it, you're not playing correctly, I don't think. But again, that's just my opinion. But as I say, again, mixing luck and choice. You lucky before you draw, but you have the choice of which ones to keep. Except 1, of course. So it's really, it adds something. And there I will say, the rule is you don't have to show if you've completed the route. Every game you've played with, like, okay, that's completed, okay, there's some new ones. And this one you can just choose to get a new one. 5 rounds in, you've put down some cards, get some new routes. Have you completed? Have you not? They don't know anything about that. Of course, So I think that definitely adds some different bit of, he's taking the routes. Interesting. He's dropping 2 of them. It definitely adds some thinking to it. So it is a bit better than what we've usually played. But by now we're so fine, like, it's just as matter to throw it down and get the points right away. It's how we play, right? It happens sometimes. Of course, the fact that when you build it 2 routes or 3 routes, you get some points for that. I think that's interesting. I think maybe that pulls a little too much on luck, because like if you get a route that has some longer ones, you automatically gonna get more points. So it pulls a little bit on luck, and I like it. It means you get more points throughout the games, but nah, it's not the best part of the game, at least. I think it adds a little bit too much luck to it, in the sense that if you get the long one route where you have to build one, like in eastern part of the map, there's a lot of long routes, a lot of very long routes, right? So if you get routes down there, you're gonna get more points from that. Obviously, if you're in the western part where the routes are smaller, you're not. It's a little bit too lucky for me. Anyways, that is gameplay. Brilliant gameplay, actually. Only one bad thing I want to say. Otherwise, I really think the gameplay of this is simple, brilliant, mixing luck and choice perfectly. I love it. Moving on to, of course, components. Components in this one is brilliant. Let's not talk about it. I don't want to bring them up, but I think the trains, I love them. Small little plastic trains, they look good. I've actually been on Etsy looking at upgrades, but I just thought, no, I don't want to buy more plastic, waste plastic like that when I'm actually very happy with the trains I have. These trains are fine. I'll keep those, don't need to upgrade it. I might get a card holder, but that's a different story. That's a completely different thing. But I like the trains, the little stations look really good, and the wooden markers, they do the trick. Like, I don't think it needs to be other thing than the little round wooden markers. I've again upgraded bits. I would maybe feel a little bit worse because it's wood, and wood is more easily dissolved, but it's painted wood, so it's So again, I've chosen not to upgrade my plastic to more plastic, and just keep the components up there because I'm happy with it as it is. I think it's great the way it is with the components. The artwork is again is simple, but you know immediately. Also for Counterblind, like the trains are so distinct. Only bit of trouble, and there's of course symbols. I was about to say the only trouble is on the more, but you do have different symbols for the colors. I think that's brilliant. Right now, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know what it's like to be colorblind, I must admit. But I think that is something that would help. And I mean, like, okay, I can this little symbol in the corner matches that little symbol. Yeah, I can see that not being a difficult one. And maybe with a little bit of training, you can see this type of train is this simple, so they match. So I think that's so that is brilliant with a little bit of artwork. Not that there's a lot of artwork in this one. It's definitely not the artwork that is keeping this one alive. But it definitely helps, and it conveys what you need to know on the trains, on the routes, on everything. The artwork does what it needs to do, and it just looks nice. Of course, I haven't been in the hobby that long, but people say that this was the standard ones, and now they look meh. You can agree on that, but I still think it keeps up with the artwork, and the components are still pretty great in here. Of course, proper cards. That's one thing for Ticket to Ride regular. Small cards, I hate those. Proper cards in this one. Proper cards, that's lovely. Absolutely great. And that's the components all covered. Again, just a little bunch of cheer for it. It's so brilliant. Now the theme, it's difficult to pinpoint, because at first it was a whole bunch of train building and stuff, right? But then the small ones came. New York, London, San Francisco's kind of come out, Amsterdam, which are not trains. They are taxis, they are buses, they are... What the hell are they in San Francisco? I haven't gotten the game yet, I can't remember what I've seen in the review. Amsterdam, they're like little carts from the 1800s or something. So they very much changed it up there. But I think in these big boxes, and how you traverse the countries, and some things to do in Pennsylvania or Japan, makes a lot of sense as to a train route that you're building. So I think the theme is okay in these big ones, and of course the artwork really, like the routes and the trains on the artwork and everything really makes it look really nice. And we could have made it planes, probably. Could have made it just car routes or anything, probably. But I think it would have lost something if it wasn't, you know, trains. If it wasn't a train route through Europe or US or UK or whatever, it would definitely have lost something. So I think I think Ticket to Ride needs to be trains, at least in these big ones, and the smaller ones can be different. I think that's fine. So I think the theme goes through pretty well. Not as great as it could in other ones, but pretty well themed actually. Does it lie to you? I believe it's 5-player, I know that, but how long does it actually say on the box? I don't know how long it says. Why is this always a search? It just needs to be on every single corner and you can see it right away. I feel like I always search for. Oh, there it is. 2 to 5, 8 plus, 30 to 60 minutes. 2 to 5, yes. I think this is one of those rare games that work at all the player counts. Right? It works at 2, 3, 4, or 5. I've played it at all of them. I've had an equally great time. It changed up the strat a little bit because at 2 players it's very open. At 5 players it's very closed. So stations come more in handy at 5 players than they do at 2 players. So you might have a lower score at 5, but still it gives you an experience and it's great all the way through, I think. 30 to 60 minutes, upwards of an hour. Yeah, again, if you're more players, less players, it can depend, but I think it's okay. It's fairly accurate for board game standards to go. If you don't know, board games constantly lie to you on that one. I'm acting as if they don't, but they do. 8 plus. It depends on the person. My aunt is 46 and I can only play regular Ticket to Ride with her because she does not understand the stations nor the tunnels. So I have to play regular Ticket to Ride with her. I've not introduced her to one singular expansion. So 8 plus, it very much depends on the person. But if you have an active child who maybe understands the color difference and stuff, I would say start with regular Ticket to Ride, but if they can play that one, I think it's an evolution to go this one. But it wouldn't be the first one to play with a child, a younger person. Someone who's older, like I'm 21, I was played this one when I was 18. No problem there. I think that age you can understand. Unless you're my aunt. In that case you're... Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. But so I don't think it lies to you that much. A little bit with age, but... And final score. I said last episode with Meadow that I had only 5 games that I gave a 10 out of 10 to. You now know one of them, Meadow. You now know 2 of them, because I gave Ticket to Ride Europe a 10 out of 10. But I gave regular Ticket to Ride an 8 out of 10. What is the 2-point difference? The stations and the tunnels. There is a game with Ticket to Ride, these big boxes, that I give 9 out of 10. That will come next time. I will not spoil it right now. Or I just spoiled it for the video, but I won't spoil which it is. Which only adds one of those elements, and I think it just makes it better. So 2 of the elements is 10 out of 10, 0 of the elements, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 is the base rating for Ticket to Ride. That's what all of them are going to work out of. 10 out of 10 for this one. It is one of the greatest games I've ever played. I love playing it. Every time we're like, okay, we're packing up, we gotta bring some board games. Ticket to Ride which ones else are we bringing? Which other ones we're bringing? Like we can bring 5, what are the 4 other ones? Always bring. There's another one also, but for different reasons. I have not reviewed it yet. I will talk about it when I do. Ticket to Ride Europe comes every time. But that is so obviously keeping it. Yes, I do want all Ticket to Rides, but if I ever have to downsize, this is Ticket to Ride that I'm keeping, base box at least. But yeah, that's another episode done. Thank you for watching. I don't know what the time is. It's gonna be long, I think. But thank you very much for watching another episode of Tabletop Reviews. Sorry for the week's delay. There's a whole bunch of shit going on. I might write something in the description. But until next time, my name's Marcus. Bye.